Seattle Humane's Trapping Guide for Foster Parents. While this information is written primarily about cats, much of the same principles applies to lost foster dogs. What to do when a foster pet escapes. First, alert Seattle Humane foster staff that the pet has escaped via the phone line. This is considered an emergency, so you should call after hours. Do not chase the pet. You can follow slowly behind to see where they go, but please do not chase them. This will make them go further away. Remember that cats tend to stay close to home at first, so if you didn't see them, they're probably close by. Alert your neighbors. They can be on the lookout, but also may help you later on with the trapping. Post on social media, such as Nextdoor, neighborhood Facebook groups, etc. Pick up traps and set traps from Seattle Humane. Post flyers and posters. For online posts, flyers, and posters, here's some content. You'll want to include information about the animal, the species, the description, so what do they look like, coloring, unique physical characteristics, such as if they have a stubby tail or are missing an eye, things like that. You also want to include the date and time lost, the location lost, and the direction headed, if you know it. You want to include a photo. If you don't have one, ask Seattle Humane for one. Include instructions for the finder, and you'll want to use your own phone number. You can also add the foster phone number, but remember that to add your own as well. Here are some sample online posts. Remember, once the animal is caught, please update these posts so people know that the animal has been caught. It's also a good idea to post status reports. So for example, if there was a sighting in a certain area, make sure to update the post with that information. You can see the post for the cat notes for people to check their garages and sheds. That's good information for lost cats. For the photo of the dog, it says he loves people and other dogs, so if you see him, he may approach you to say hi. He does know his name. These are important. This is important information for people who may be on the lookout for your lost foster pet. For posters and flyers, you want to grab attention. This is the most important part of your physical posting. For the big poster, you should use a large neon poster and thick black markers. This will help you get the attention of people driving by. Seattle Humane has extra posters and markers we can give you. You'll want to cut down the information just a little bit so you can catch it all on the page, but also make sure it's large and legible. For the flyer on the right, this is something that you can post in stores or on light posts, that kind of thing. Posting in public places is important. For both posters, you can see we used a useful photo that actually describes what the dog actually looks like the dog. So for this one on the right, this is the dog Betsy. You can see it looks like she recently had puppies. This is helpful for people when they see a lost dog. It's a unique characteristic. For the cat, she has unique green eyes and a unique marking on her nose. The fact that the photo describes that or shows that is really going to help people when they see a cat out wandering around. Remember that Seattle has a lot of water, so you're going to want to waterproof the posters. You can do this by using packing tape or sheet protectors or laminating each item. After the pet is found, make sure to remove all posters and flyers from the area. The trapping process. We'll cover all of these topics on later slides. After you pick up a trap from Seattle Humane and take it home, you'll want to get to know how the trap works. But first, you want to select a trap location. Make sure the location is safe from cars, so not in the middle of a driveway, not likely to be hit by a car, that type of thing. You also want to keep the trap away from areas where dogs frequent. So while a trail may be a good idea, keeping it off the trail just slightly is a good place to catch a cat and to keep the trap from being messed with by dogs walking by. You also want to keep the trap away from areas that floods. So for example, areas where puddles form. This means that if you trap a cat, the cat will be sitting in standing water if it rains. Also keep the trap in an area that's secluded. So for example, nearby bushes, on the side of a house, that type of thing. Usually traps put out in the open aren't as successful as traps that are put in more secluded areas. You also want to make sure the trap is actually accessible to the cat. So it's an area where the cat can get into. If you put it in an enclosed yard with a fence and the cat can't get to it, there's no way you're going to trap the cat. You also want to make sure that the trap is in an area that's not going to roll. So if the cat goes into it and bumps around in it, you want to make sure that the trap isn't going to roll downhill. Also consider where the pet was seen last. So if the pet ran east, probably putting them on the west side of your house is not going to be as successful as putting traps on the east side of your house. But continue moving the traps as you get new sightings of the pet. Alerting your neighbors. Let your neighbors know you're trapping in the area. This is a good way to meet your neighbors, but also a great way to get another set of eyes out looking for your pet when you can't do that. Make sure they also know not to trap the pet. You can give them a copy of the flyer or just give them a description of what the pet looks like. Remember, if you're going to put a trap on somebody else's property, you must ask permission to do so. They may even be interested in helping you with the trapping process or checking traps. Baiting the trap. You have to have some reason for the animal to go into the trap. Usually stinky food works the best. Stinky foods that have been successful with Seattle Humane foster pets are things like tuna, roasted chicken, or a diet the pet loves. People have also had a lot of luck with the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Any of these items heated for a few seconds creates quite a stink, and these are great ways to lure a cat to a trap. Also consider when you're baiting the trap whether the cat has been trapped before. If so, they may be a little more apprehensive to go inside. You may want to lure them to the area by putting food near an unset trap and getting them accustomed to finding food there. After a day or so, you can put the food in the trap and set the trap. Now let's talk about trap mechanics. Seattle Humane has a number of different types of traps, but they all have the same types of mechanisms. There's an entrance at the front. This is the door that flaps open. There's also a back door that usually slides up on a track. The back door is where you're going to put your food. So opening up the back, replacing the food, and closing the back, making sure to latch it. The back door always needs to be secured so that the cat can't open it when they get in. There's also the trigger mechanism and the trigger plate. So the trigger mechanism keeps the front entrance open, and it also sets this trigger plate to step up. Once the cat walks in the trap and steps on that trigger plate, the entrance will close. Now let's watch a video about setting the trap. So this is an unset trap. You can see I'm opening the back door there. It slides open. First, I'm adding some very stinky food to a tray, putting it right inside the back door and closing it. I'm latching it, make sure it's secure. I'm also going to use some treats. Sprinkle those around to lure the cat into the area and into the trap. You don't want to set so many that the cat gets a full meal before they get to the back. The good stuff has to be in the back of the trap. So that's the entrance. This is the mechanism that triggers it. And now it's set. I'm also clearing debris from the area, so anything that could get in the way of the trapdoor closing all the way. So leaves, rocks, those types of things. I'm going to put a blanket inside. You can also use newspaper or use nothing. I'll put a couple more treats in there. Next, you probably want to cover the trap. So I'm using a towel here and I'm careful not to cover the entrance door. You don't want anything interfering with that door closing. If the cat goes in or the door tries to close, but the door doesn't close all the way, the cat's going to get out and it will not go back in a trap easily. I'm also going to only partially cover it here so that the stinky smells can get out and the cat and lure the cat to the area. I'm covering it with a plastic bag to protect it from rain. And I'm going to put 2 big rocks on top to keep the plastic bag from flying away. The plastic bag is only necessary if it's going to rain. And now you can move it into position if it's not already there. Next, you want to check the traps. Traps should be checked 2 to 3 times a day. You want to rebait the trap twice a day as well. Remember that cats are active at dusk and dawn mostly, so they're probably not going to go into the trap in the middle of the day. Checking traps at, say, 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. are great times to try and catch a cat. In the case of extreme weather, if you can't check the trap often enough to protect an animal that's trapped inside, you should pause trapping efforts or check more often. Extreme weather could be something like excessive snow, extreme heat, things like that. You want to keep whatever pet, it's your responsibility to keep whatever pet you trap safe. If you're having trouble trapping, there are local trapping groups who may be able to help with your trapping efforts. Ask the foster team for more information. If you're putting stinky food in a trap in order to trap your lost foster pet, it's likely you might catch something else. From raccoons to possums to rats to neighborhood cats, you will probably need to learn how to release an animal you didn't intend to keep. Do so by using the back door and face it away from you. You can slide it open and sort of prop it open so the animal can escape and run away. Remember to release any neighborhood cats you catch unless you know it's a local lost animal. You may want to move traps depending on how long you've been trapping and also if there are sightings in the area. If traps have been in place for a couple of days up to a week and you haven't had any new sightings in the area, you may want to move them to a different area. Use your same location guidelines we talked about before. If you catch the cat, congratulations, that's awesome. Do not attempt to move the cat from the trap outside. Take the cat inside your home into a secure location and then open the trap and let them out. A cat in a trap is usually pretty scared and upset, so don't let them outside. Once you've caught the cat, alert foster staff that the cat's been caught. Collect all of the other traps that you have around the area and bring everything back to Seattle Humane. If the cat isn't seen or caught within 14 days, we will likely discontinue trapping and ask you to bring back the traps so that we can use them for the next lost foster animal. Thank you and happy trapping.